Hello everyone, this is Alex from MenuDocs, and in today's video, we'll be returning to our Introduction to Web Development series. And finally today, after all of your suggestions, we're going to be digging into some CSS. If you all have not watched the last video, make sure to go check it out before you watch this one, as we are building off of our last video. Also, make sure to watch the entire series up to this point so you don't miss out on anything that could be important in this episode. I wouldn't expect our CSS videos to be that long because they're just going to be hitting on important things and we aren't going to be hitting on them that fast, but they are important. But before we can dive into our video here on the MenuDocs, they would not be possible without our sponsor, Oxide Hosting.
Today's video is proudly powered by our partner, Oxide Hosting. Get your products hosted by them with their cheap, reliable services. So what are you waiting for? Check them out in the description below.
Alright guys, first off I would like to let you all know that tomorrow we have another video in the series going live. We're going to hit more about that at the end of the episode. Second, I would like to let you all know, just like last episode, I will timestamps in the description for specific items provided in the content today. But that's not why you're here, so let's dig in. This episode's going to be pretty good with our CSS. Now today we aren't starting in our code editor, as you might have noticed. To start off today, I would like to talk about some things that have been requested. Those would be CSS frameworks. All I have to say to this is no. This series is about building your first website. This isn't about designing the most amazing website you could possibly make. Maybe later on down the line we can look into doing something with CSS frameworks such as Bootstrap, which is here right now. But for right now, we're just going to be using the normal CSS. Now, without further ado, let's make our site look like a colorful mess. Alright, this section will be about actually getting into CSS as a whole, as well as giving our background some color. So, as our great lord of the transition commands, let's get into background colors. To do this, we actually need to create a CSS file. To do this, let's make a CSS folder and a main.css. So, we'll name it CSS, and in here, main.css. And there we go. This file is the main CSS component. So this is going to be like the entire thing. All you have to do is input this, and you have the main file for your web page. So if you have a background color or a text style you want to cover your entire site in, all you need to do is import this one. So, and here's where I'm going to start our background. For this, we need the body element. And this is almost like JSON. It's not that complicated. Now let's actually define the color. I'll do images in another episode, but for right now, let's just do a color. If you want to see images, make sure to leave a comment so I know you want them. To do this, we need to make a tag called background color. And I'm going to make this green. But you all can make this whatever you want, as long as CSS takes it. Just a quick Google can get you all the colors that CSS is able to take. Now, don't forget to end it with a semicolon. All declarations in CSS have to end with a semicolon, so don't forget it. Now that we have a background color, let's talk about some text formatting, because that's going to be a little more entertaining. Alright, we're going to do text formatting in 3 parts of our code today. We're going to play with our header, which is H2. We're going to play with our paragraphs, which is just P. And we're going to play with our list, which is OL. But yours could be UL. Just make sure you have the one that you choose. Now let's start out with the text color, especially for our heading. I'm going to make it a hex number here, just to show that you can use any hex numbers you want. So ours is going to be FF69B4. If you don't know what that is hot pink. You should learn it. It's amazing. But we'll do some actual name coloring now, such as dark red for our paragraphs, or let's say gold for our list. And that's all the coloring we're going to do because those are the only things we defined. So let's actually look into text aligning. We're going to do all of this aligning in our heading for now, but we'll talk about more aligning later on. We're definitely going to hit on that in the next episode with floats and things. So we're going to make our text alignment in the center of the page. So with text align center, that's all you need. It's really easy. It doesn't take a lot of work, and now our heading will be in the center of our page. Now for font sizing. Font sizes are in PX, or pixels format, which is just like the font size on Google Docs is labeled as. Now, we want our heading to pop right, because it's the title. So, let's define that with font-size. Let's make that 32 PX, for 32 pixels. And let's make a paragraph a little bigger, shall we? So, font size again. This time we're going to make it 24 pixels. So, that's really the simple part. Pixels and our font sizes are really quite easy, but now let's actually add some fonts, not just font sizes. This isn't going to be super in-depth because we're going to get into actually importing from external sites a little bit later, but it will allow you to set some very basic fonts that CSS recognizes immediately. Woo! You guys made it to the final section of the episode. Glad you made it. Let's go really basically into fonts. There are a lot of fonts in the world. Everyone should know that. But we're only going to use the few that CSS natively recognizes. The reason for this is because in another episode we're going to cover hitting on importing fonts directly into HTML, because we aren't going to do that directly into our CSS. For our heading, we're going to add a font family to our heading. Let's use everyone's favorite sans serif. So to do this we need font family. We're going to make this sans serif. It's really easy. This is just font families. If you want to add a different font, we can definitely do that, but we're going to do that in another episode, of course. We're also going to change our paragraph up a little bit to use one of my favorite font families, monospace. So that way we have a couple of different text bits. We're also going to change our ordered list. We're going to do font-family again. And we're going to make this fantasy because fantasy looks pretty cool. At least to me personally. And there you go, guys. You wrote your first bit of CSS. Now let's get on to the final step of the video. Now, of course we need to tell our HTML document to use the CSS page. Now, this is pretty easy. To do this, all we need is a link tag. Our rel is going to be style sheet, and this fills in a lot of the stuff for us. But for our href, all we need is .css/main.css. And that is the really easy part. That's your introduction to CSS, because now you have CSS built into your page. Let's take a look at it. Alright guys, there you go. We have our sans serif heading here. We have our list in its font along with the color. And we also have our broken paragraph in a different font and color. As you notice, the heading came now below the images. We'll talk directly about this in the next episode because the images are taking priority. These things we'll talk about again in the next episode. But, alright guys, that's where we're going to have to wrap up this week's episode. If you all enjoyed, make sure to join our Discord. You can come chat with us and get help with your code. I do have a special announcement to end off the episode. As I mentioned earlier, tomorrow we do have the next video coming up. Sadly though, it's not episode 5. Tomorrow we're going to be working on hosting on the Oxide platform, so you can host your website through them for really low prices. We'll talk about that more in tomorrow's episode, but make sure to keep an eye out for it. So, until tomorrow guys, thank you all for watching today on the MenuDocs, and as always, happy coding.